Tuscaloosa? That is, girl, you better recognize. Had about like 15 national titles come out of that town. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, ADP, for your patience. I appreciate it. I'm sorry that I was not here on time. That's a recurring nightmare, is that I'm going to oversleep and miss the 6 o'clock news one night. And the, I guess, second highest nightmare is oversleep and miss a speaking engagement. And it really just, my wife and I were driving here very casually and slowly, and she said, Brad, it's 1:10. Don't you think that Taub Talks is underway? And I said, oh, honey, no. They eat lunch at 1, and then the things at 2. She's like, no, I don't think people eat lunch at 1. So anyway, I appreciate your patience big time. And I also appreciate what you do. You know, I've been privileged to enjoy ADP payroll services for, I think, my entire career. And so for what you do for the employees of the United States, really, we appreciate that. And to now know that you're such a strong corporate citizen of Augusta and the CSRA means the world as well. And it's neat to see all of y'all's faces. You know, you're not just a logo anymore. I can see the human beings behind this powerful place. We have to sum up people's life stories in about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes on the news every night. It's a challenge, but it's one of the reasons I love the television business, is taking tons of information and condensing it into a quick news story. And so I hope my comments today mirror that approach. I hope that I can get you all in and out of here. And really what I just want to focus on during my brief time at the podium is a look at how much the television business has changed since I entered it about 24 years ago, and how we go about trying to deliver what you tell us you want on the news, and certainly and primarily how social media has impacted all of that in such a profound way. And I thought a great way to illustrate the changes that have taken place since I started out would be just to show you 3 things. This is a case that holds a 3/4 inch tape. And when I first started out in the business, this is what we shot our news on. And this wasn't the old days, it was 1991. And we would shoot video on these tapes, and they were in tape decks that we carried over our shoulder, along with a huge camera. I actually stood on a scale at a grocery store one time and calculated that the gear weighed about 50 pounds, and we didn't have a big enough television station back then to have cameramen, so the reporter was the cameraman. And so every day you'd lug 50 pounds worth of this around, and you'd go back and edit your video, obviously, and then put this in a tape deck and play it on television. All right, so that's phase 1 of my career. Fast forward to phase 2, which is just a few years ago, maybe in the last 5 years, those size tapes shrink to this. It's a P2 card, which goes with our Panasonic P2 camera, or it did. These were about $1,500 to $2,000 each when they first came out. And boy, did I think we had made huge strides. Obviously, it's much lighter and much easier to work with. You put this in a hard drive, edit your video off of it, send your final product via the same hard drive to a server, and then from the server it goes onto your television sets, hopefully. Then, fast forward to, probably about 9 months ago, when Channel 6 started getting these little cards. Now, these are similar to what you would use at home, or in your cameras right now. These are maybe $12 a piece. And they hold many, many times more video than this thing ever did. Not to mention the quality is many, many times greater. Crisp, high definition versus standard def. And so things have incredibly changed from a technological standpoint. And we take these means of recording news stories, these cards, and we put these cards into $25,000, $30,000, $35,000 cameras that Panasonic sells us. And most of the stuff you end up seeing on television is shot on these, right? This is where it's all coming from now. You know, it's all iPhone video, it's all immediate, it's all dealing with this generation or this society that has permanent ADHD, and you have to keep throwing new stuff at them. We had a consultant come the other day and say, you know, They used to say, try to get as many viewers as you can. Now they say, try to get as much engagement as you can. You need to not just make sure people are watching Channel 6, but make sure that you're engaging them. And to me, all I heard was likes. Make sure they like you. Make sure they click on you. But that's what it's become. How can we give you what you want in a way and on a platform like this or your tablet that fits your schedule? That's all we try to do now. Gone are the days when we envision people going into their living room at 6 o'clock and tuning into the news. Face it, by the time the 6 o'clock news rolls around, you know what's going on. So then our challenge is, how do we take what you know to another level? And that's our constant mission. The consultants call it digging deeper. You may even see that terminology used on television. Tonight we're digging deeper to tell you more about something you've already heard about during the day. Somebody said 90% of our viewers get their news from Facebook. Well, raise your hand if you would say you get your news from Facebook. Not all your news, but do you get something from Facebook? It's incredible. It really is, isn't it? And I know much younger people in the audience would roll their eyes, or those watching at home, and say, of course that's the way the world works. But it hasn't always worked that way. This is very, very recent. A lot of changes going on out there. And so let's quickly take a look at social media versus traditional media, that is to say, stuff you watch on your smartphone versus stuff you watch on your TV. And let's figure out how the two can be friends and how traditional media, in many cases, most cases I would say, can do a better job of covering the news for you in your hometown than social media can. We have this constant connectivity, right? We're always linked into something. Thank you, World Wide Web. We're never out of touch. We always know what's going on. It's made the world a tiny place. But we can apply some of those old school journalistic tools to this new school technology and make sure that you continue to depend on us. Take the blogger, for instance. We'll call him John Smith. John Smith can blog about something with anything he wants. He can type up a few paragraphs and post it on the web, all right? But the difference, one of the many differences between John Smith, the blogger, who wrote about his favorite subject, and Channel 6, the local television station, is probably most importantly the reach. John, the blogger, doesn't have access to 500,000 households at the flip of a switch, an audience that is there and that can tune in to what we're trying to report. Now you may say to yourself, well, Brad, he may get 1 million hits on that blog. Not immediately. Not the way we can immediately come into your homes and have the news story delivered to you in an in-depth manner. That immediacy, I think, separates us from the blogger, and that reach separates us from the blogger. The blogger, in most cases, is not objective. Remember now, my speech is about local television news, because I know that at the network level you might think that some of those networks aren't objective. And yes, some of them do seem to have their own agenda. But at the local level, we try to stay in the middle of the road, not insert our opinions if we can help it, and try to just give you the facts and let you take it from there. The blogger typically has a slant or an agenda, all right? Another point of separation between us and them. How do we get what you want on television each night? How do we know what it is that you crave? And I would love, if this is wrong, for y'all to just say, Brad, that's not really true, that's not what we want. But television stations, by and large, depend on research. And researchers tell us that audiences want the media outlets to be accountable to them and to hold people of authority, hold them accountable, all right? So in other words, whatever happens in your town, you want us to go talk to the decision makers, the mayor, others, and hold them accountable for that decision that has been made. That way, whatever's going on in your community, you know who did that. It's digging deeper, it's taking things to another level. Social media has done a wonderful job with crime blotter news. They can put up someone's mugshot, they can tell you what they're charged with, and they can leave it at that. Take the jail report, for instance. You can go to the jail report's website, which everyone has done, to see if you know anybody. And you'll find out if you know them and what they did, or what they're accused of doing. On the television side of things at the local level, we like to show you trends. For instance, if we had a mugshot of a person who was arrested for domestic abuse, and we told you who they were and what they were charged with, after that, we would try to look at reasons that domestic abuse is happening in our society. Does substance abuse have something to do with it? Does stress in the workplace become a contributing factor to domestic violence? Who's out there to help treat the victims and to make sure the abusers are punished? Digging deeper, taking it to another level. You would not get that in 99% of the cases from a social media site. Yes, you would find out about the crime, but you'd turn to your local news to take it deeper. We want to tell you not only what just happened, but why it happened. Researchers tell us that the top 3 stories y'all love are stories about government waste, education, and crime trends. I'll say those again: government waste, how people like Mayor Davis and others are spending your tax money, education, anything that has to do, we're all touched by that, whether you have a child in the public school system or not. We're concerned about who's in those schools and what kind of people those schools produce. And crime trends. Where is crime happening in my town? Why? And what are they doing about it? All right? So remember that when you watch the news. You can find during the first 10 minutes of any newscast in this town or any other, they're going to hit on crime, they're going to hit on government waste, and they're going to hit on something that has to do with schools. But does anyone know the #1 reason by a mile why people watch television news? The #1 reason they turn on that TV, they want to find out something. Oh my gosh. That's huge. It's weather. I love that. I cannot wait to get back to the newsroom. And that blows me away, because the only time, my whole frame of reference is a conference room with a consultant going, weather, weather, weather. And you just echoed what he said. By the way, may I say that this is one of the coolest places I've ever been in. This looks like something you would find in the Silicon Valley, doesn't it? Yeah, this is big time. Did y'all see the movie The Internship, where those guys intern at Google? This reminds me of that. It's really neat. Our former GRU president must have never come here, because this is cool. It is cool. Another thing that we do that separates us from the bloggers, and I swear I'm almost finished, is we attribute everything we do, all right? People can get on the internet and write what they want and say what they want and present something as a news story without ever having anything to back it up. And sadly, most Americans gobble that up and take it as the truth. We, on the local television side of things, like to give you the stories and show you how those stories came about and attribute all the facts that we've just presented to the people behind the story. If I tell you Mayor Davis is interested in revitalizing downtown, that story is also going to include a soundbite from Mayor Davis saying, I want to revitalize downtown. It proves I'm not making it up. It has that attribution, and it hopefully makes you trust me more. Also, if I cannot get the mayor, and I tell you that the mayor had no comment or I could not get the mayor, I do not want you to just take my word for it. Many times you will see video of our reporters knocking on the mayor's office door or sitting at their desk attempting to call the mayor. And I'm not picking on him, but you get what I'm saying. We pull back the curtain and we show you the process that goes into our work so that nothing is hidden, nothing is out of view of the television audience. Not so with the infinite portal that is the internet. They put whatever they want out there and hope that you buy into it. Another thing that separates us. Recently, Charles Walker, who was a state senator in these parts for many years, went to prison. He was there for almost a decade and he got out of prison. It was all over the web. The minute he got out of jail, there were many web articles. Well, it wasn't a few days after he got out that he sat down with me and we did a 30-minute interview together. I just think that has much more substance than something you might read on the internet. Yeah, you know he's out. Yes, you know what he was in there for. But if you watch 30 minutes of local television news, you find out his thoughts, his feelings, his plans for the future. I just like that we go deeper. We're your eyes and ears in the community, but in so many ways, because of what I led off with, you are our eyes and ears too. We will hold people accountable. And we'll make sure that the people in charge of this community are doing what's best for it. But we need you to constantly keep us informed, folks. Please know how much power you wield by a simple email or text or tweet or phone call or Facebook message. You can shape what goes on television. Back in the day, we used to wake up in the morning and go to work and look at the press releases and listen to the telephone messages to decide what was going to go on TV that day. Now, it's someone's text or someone's email or someone's Facebook post that shapes what goes on TV night after night. You are in control. I told you at the beginning, we want to give you what we want. We just want to do it in a much more substantive fashion than anybody else. We treasure your trust. We appreciate you very much, and we never want to do anything to jeopardize that. That's my simple message to you today. Those are the end of my remarks.